Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the smooth, dulcet tones of the Joyful Mind. Well, hey everyone, it is 5:01 p.m. October 7th, and we're going to start our episode of Game Bites for the week, where I'm going to try to bite down everything that's happening, at least of notable importance, and give you that in a bite-sized perspective. My name is Mark. I go by the Joyful Mind. So what's happening in the world of gaming? I think right now, given the soundtrack that's behind me, maybe start off with what you hear. That's Super Mario World music. Nintendo unveiled the Super Mario Brothers movie, the Super Mario Bros movie, being made by Illumination Studio. I personally am a fan of Illumination Studios. I think they do a great job at making animated movies, especially in the era of getting big celebrities since the early mid-90s with the Genie and everything that Disney had success with. There's a lot of takes on it. My ultimate perspective is this. It was a super short teaser trailer. It looked gorgeous. What they're putting out there with Bowser looks phenomenal. The world itself seems authentic to Mario, and Chris Pratt. Everyone has perspectives. All I know is he's an actor, I'm not, and he sounded like an Italian American a bit. I'll leave it at that. Again, way too little to know. I'm just excited. I think I'm a fan of the 1993 film. I think anyone who grew up in the 90s is a fan. I will say that as much as I am a fan of the movie, it's still a horrible movie. Like, I want to watch it on a yearly basis, but it's not a great movie. And because of that, Nintendo had a big, there's a good history of what happened there. Nintendo, Shigeru Miyamoto, they decided they want to be a lot closer to anything that happens now with their properties, especially movies. And Shigeru is very close to this. So I think whatever happens here, it should be authentic to the fan base. I think people will be entertained, but that's just my perspective. I trust Nintendo and Shigeru. I don't think they want to, at the very least, have what they had happen with the 1993 movie, which I don't know if you guys know the full story there. Some of you might, but it was a husband and wife director couple. They were extremely, overconfident in their abilities. They were fired within a few weeks. It was just a horrible mess of a production. I think Bob Hoskins said in one of his last interviews, what does he regret? And it's that movie. And I love Bob. But yeah, so that was announced. It's coming out in April 2023. A long time coming. I think they've been working on it for 7 years. So I don't know what the normal turnaround time for an animation film is, but 7 years is a long time. So excited, more to come. We'll probably see more information over the holiday season. I definitely think there's a lot to anticipate how they're going to show more, what else they're going to do with it. But yeah, overall, very short teaser trailer, and it looked good. Next update, the Steam Deck. So the Nintendo Steam Deck, no. The competitor to the Nintendo Switch, the Steam Deck, made and manufactured by Steam. You can now buy it and get it within 2 weeks off the Steam website. So if you have Steam open right now, you could go there, look for a Steam Deck, and you could get whatever version you want, and you could get it within 2 weeks. That's a big deal, because when the Steam Deck was announced, not this summer, but the summer before it, I put a pre-order in, and it took me a full year until I got it. Now they started ramping up their production abilities, and that's now at the point where you get it within 2 weeks. I think if you're an enthusiast, if you have a lot of Steam games, if you think this is something you would want, definitely check it out. But I don't recommend it as like a must get, as I would like a Nintendo Switch or maybe an Xbox or a PlayStation 5. I think it's going to get better and better with time. Steam's committed to new marketplaces as they get into Japan, as they were at Tokyo Game Show and other places, that, hey, we're making more of these. The framework and the architecture is going to be the same. But it's pretty great. I mean, most games I want to put on there work. I was playing Monster Hunter Rise the other night in my bed. And again, it's the Steam ecosystem. And again, if you bought a game on Steam, you could play it on the Steam Deck on the go, no extra charge. It's impressive hardware. And if anything, I think it might be forcing Nintendo to do something else a bit sooner. To that point, this is something I did a video on a few weeks ago, but there have been new rumors of a Nintendo Switch Pro. Rumors, more or less, business projections or business predictions. And so I kind of want to capture this out again and lay out the ideal behind it. Nintendo's ex-head of North America, Reggie, ultimately said that hey, if you're going to launch a console, you need to launch a console with content pipeline behind it. So games that people are going to want to buy, right? Breath of the Wild is a good example. That game launched on the Wii U, but also the Nintendo Switch. And when that game launched, it did extremely well on the Switch. In fact, the attachment rate on the Nintendo Switch is still over 1. So what does that mean? That means for every Switch sold, there's 1.15 or 1.25 copies of Breath of the Wild are sold, which is a crazy number to think about, right? So then you have that, you had Mario Odyssey, you had a lot of games to go along with it. Here's the other thing to remember. Most of the time, a stellar console does not reproduce stellar success. There's been rare instances where that has happened, like a PlayStation 2, but most of the time, there's always a little bit of a dip. Just Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS is another example. Those two consoles, though, both of those consoles I mentioned, PlayStation 2 and Nintendo DS, they had backwards compatibility features, heavily invested into the technology. And I do think with this new Nintendo Switch Pro that's being discussed, and again, this was NVIDIA had their announcement for the 4,000 line graphics cards. Around that same time, there was more discussions about this system on a chip specifically made for the Nintendo Switch, and a new one potentially being available now and being utilized by Nintendo. Essentially, excuse me, this new technology would allow you to do Nintendo Switch at 4K, higher frames per second, and all that stuff, but it's the same architecture. So the reality is that there might be some slight differences in cartridge features and all that, but I would imagine it's going to be a Nintendo Switch with everything else you could do from the old library, plus new games running better, like some DLSS technology, and basically it allows you to maybe play Breath of the Wild at a higher frame rate, a lot of Switch games at better performance, but also play those newer games too at the ideal performance too. So who knows? My projection would be that if this is true, you see this in the May timeframe of 2023. Historically, they don't launch a lot of consoles outside of the holiday section, but they did that with the Nintendo Switch, and you have a new Breath of the Wild launching, and frankly, that would sell systems if you could get the new Breath of the Wild on it. But people love their Switch, and really, you have to have clear marketing and positioning. I don't think it's necessarily needed, but who knows, it might be happening. We'll find out more soon. Another announcement, Google. Who's surprised by this? Anyone? Is anyone in the chat surprised by this? Google Stadia is canceled. Now, I remember when Google Stadia was being talked about, before it was called Stadia, it was just a Google Cloud project. And I had a friend that worked at Google. She got me into a beta for it. I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey on my Microsoft Surface Book over the internet. And to be fair, it was fine. It played fine. I mean, Assassin's Creed already has a delay in its gameplay performance. But exactly, yeah, I see someone, Father Trekkie saying, Google cancels everything eventually. That was my perspective on it too. They invest heavily in new technologies, but if it's outside of their bread and butter, like email, work productivity, office products, or Google search, they tend to cancel it. And that's what was just announced a few weeks ago. Google Stadia is being canceled by the next year. It will be done. Now they are taking care to take care of customers, canceling pre-orders, trying to do right by the consumer. But just think about how this was announced. They were saying this is going to change the way you interact with games. This is going to change the way you make content as a content creator. You're going to be directly able to stream and interact with YouTube right on Google Stadia. All of that, and it was all for naught. It was essentially. I mean, cloud's not going anywhere, right? Cloud's going to stay, and I ultimately think the two platforms that do it best are NVIDIA and Xbox. Xbox with cloud gaming, which is essentially, hey, you have Xbox at home on your PC or the actual hardware, but if you're on the go, you can play it on your phone or your PC that's not quite as powerful, and it's pretty good. In fact, it's everything you have on Game Pass or your home console, and it works really well, right? They have the infrastructure to make it work. That makes sense to me. Another example of a successful approach is the NVIDIA model, which you pay a monthly fee to NVIDIA, but you are allowed to link any of your existing PC storefronts, whether it be Steam or Epic or so forth, and you don't have to buy the game again. With Stadia, you had to buy the game there, and I think that's a roadblock, because it's not going to be a primary way people want to play if they're really into gaming, right? If you're already a gamer, there's a chance you have something to play your games on. It's about giving it that third option of like, oh, I didn't bring my Switch, I didn't bring my console, I still want to play something. Oh, I can just jump on the internet. I think that's the way you have to target people for cloud gaming, and I think that's going to work. That being said, no one's surprised that Stadia is canceled, but cloud is definitely still here. It's not going anywhere. And frankly, I think the technology will be featured more in platforms like the Nintendo Switch moving forward, right? You have Nintendo Cloud products coming out, such as the Resident Evil games. I haven't used them at all. The Kingdom Hearts game are cloud games. But to me, I see them being successful in other markets besides North America, right? Japan and other countries that have a higher 5G infrastructure. Cloud gaming is much more feasible to have an always online internet connection. And I don't think it's going away. I just don't think it's going to be as eminent as Google wanted it to be or needed it to be. And I do think it's going to be more of a terrestrial way to play versus a primary way to play. Or maybe you see the technology incorporated more so into just traditional gaming too, right? Crackdown 3, when that was being talked about, was all about how cloud gaming is going to be all this amazing computation of physics in the background, and it's going to be a wonderful experience, and that didn't even deliver. But, you know, Microsoft struggled with Crackdown 3, so I digress. So yeah, cloud gaming with Google, no one's surprised. That is gonzo. I do believe there's some people in the community that have a Stadia controller because they were giving that out like butter. Well, butter's not that cheap anymore either, but yeah. I did not have any experience with the main console after it was released. I only did it in prototype beta form. So yeah, fun news. Some Halo rumors, some Halo news. So again, Halo keeps getting delayed for the co-op campaign. It's no longer going to be a couch co-op campaign. There's all kinds of internal things happening. But one of the things that's come out of the woodworks is that Halo might be switching from its current engine to Unreal, which is kind of a big deal. Now, to be clear, it would be for their rumored Battle Royale mode, which I personally am interested in. So not all of it, but it would ultimately be for the core game moving forward too. Which, to me, what does that say about Halo Infinite? I think Halo Infinite was a great campaign. I still need to finish it, but I had a ton of fun with Halo Infinite's campaign. Are they saying they're going to get that to run on Unreal 5? And this is Unreal 5 specifically. Or is it just games after Halo Infinite? Or maybe they do an update to Halo Infinite, because again, that's supposed to be their core platform for the next so many years that they just build onto. Is there going to be a big update that switches the game over completely? I'm not sure, but as of right now, it does seem like certain aspects of Halo Infinite's features are going to be moving over to Unreal 5 in the future, specifically their Battle Royale mode and some other multiplayer modes. Now, I do believe their multiplayer mode might be on a different engine as it is right now too. So it's interesting. It's interesting to me because I think Halo Infinite's issue right now is content related. But for some reason or other, the team internally is looking at technology. And I don't know what their desire is for that. I think the technology plays and it works fine for me. But maybe they're trying to really push the whole, fidelity aspect of their experience forward more. Who knows? But again, that still does say that they're working on it internally, that there is a Battle Royale mode in the works still as well. I would definitely come back for that. I blame Fortnite for making me like Battle Royales as much as they have. And it is what it is. So we'll go from there. What other news have happened? GiantBomb. So not talking about destruction, but GiantBomb, a gaming site that I am a fan of. I've been in for a long time. I've been lucky enough to to meet some of the people in that team. I've had them cover my company's game depiction on some of their shows before. Originally started by Jeff Gersman in 2008, I want to say 2009 maybe. Jeff worked for GameSpot. He works in games media for most of his life. And then after a falling out with GameSpot, based on how they handle reviews and how companies pay people to review their games and how they expect good reviews out of it, he kind of realized there's a problem there for the consumer and started his own website, left GameSpot, started GiantBomb. And over the years, the GiantBomb team kept growing and really paved the way for how a lot of us consume game media content today. So quick looks, quick reviews, things of that nature. GiantBomb was ahead of the game, specifically for most mainstream game websites. And they dominated that with a very heavy podcast approach on a weekly basis. The team's grown and shrunk in different ways. A lot of the talent I enjoyed from that team is gone now. But over the years, they've been bought out and sold to different corporate companies, right? One of them being CBS, and also the parent company, CNET, which is also GameSpot. So ironically, he left GameSpot, but then they bought GiantBomb. He probably had to feel good about that. Needless to say, Jeff ended up leaving GiantBomb after one of their last acquisitions recently this past year to Red Venture Media. He left this past June, and he's doing his own thing now. Jeff's great, Jeff Gerstmann. If you're just looking for games coverage, he's a person to follow for sure. But as of this past week and a half, there have been a lot of shakeups in games media already. There was the fallout with the Tencent company. There was the issues over with G4 TV. But now Fandom, a major entertainment media platform, has announced that they have not only bought GiantBomb, but they've also bought Metacritic, GameSpot, and more. So Fandom being a giant fan wiki, all those former CNET sites, so GiantBomb, GameSpot, Metacritic, are now being owned by Fandom. This brings together GameSpot, Metacritic, TV Guide, Fanatical, Comic Vine, Cord Cutters, GiantBomb, GameFAQs, and Screen Junkies. I used GameFAQs all the time growing up. It's unbelievable that site's still around. So just calling that out because there's been so much shakeup in the entertainment media space overall. It seems like there's a major consolidation effort going on right now. IGN's not a part of this, but overall, there was a big bloat. A lot of big companies were getting in the games media, and now they're trying to say, no, we need to be more focused. And so companies are kind of acquiring and consolidating and really taking that bloat out of the play. Now, it does seem like most of the GiantBomb team is staying together, which is a good thing. But it is interesting because GiantBomb was known for their fan base FAQ wiki on all games in general. In fact, on twitch.tv, if you play a game, the image that comes up to represent that game historically is driven off the GiantBomb database. And I know that from experience. We couldn't get depiction to have the right image because we didn't get an entry on the GiantBomb database. I don't know what's going to happen to that database. That was manicured over a decade plus by fans and passionate people, and now it seems like it keeps getting exchanged between large corporate interests. Again, doesn't mean anything bad is inherently going to happen, but it's no longer as user created focused. So interesting news there. I don't want to hear about anyone losing jobs no matter what the situation is. I prefer people to have good, stable situations. You know, tranquility is a good thing. Peace and stability is a good thing. So doesn't seem like that's happening to the GiantBomb team, but interesting shakeup news that just kind of happened this past week, this past Monday actually too. So that's kind of surprised me because they've been through so many acquisitions. A few more bits on gaming news, then I'm going to talk about what's coming out this month. Cyberpunk and Witcher sequels have been announced. Multiple new sequels are in the works. A new Witcher trilogy is in the works by CD Projekt Red, which has already been discussed, but they've just had a formal announcement of it. There seems to be 3 more games in the works for Witcher. Some of them are being made by different teams. I think they're going to be focused on different characters, not just Geralt. But if you're a fan of the Witcher series, you're going to get more Witcher. You're going to get a lot more Witcher, which to me, you know, I'm glad CD Projekt Red is successful because I think from a sheer curation of how they approach RPGs, they do a good job at just not making everything seem like a fetch quest. I'll admit that. And I think that's something that should have more of an influence in games overall, because I think it just makes a game better. That being said, I did not finish The Witcher 3. It's such a massive game. I want to play it. It is what it is. Cyberpunk's a game I have a weird relationship with. I want to try it. I don't want to try it. I want to try it. I don't want to try it. For personal reasons, I know there are settings that you can do to make the game, you know, more friendly to the type of content you get exposed to. I am excited about that. I've used it a bit and it does work, but it's still it's a great gameplay game. I need to give it more time to have much of a perspective on it at all. But I will say that it is impressive, and it's CD Projekt Red. They do a good job at world building, so I'm excited for that. But there's more sequels being announced there, and you're gonna have more games as well. So if you like Cyberpunk, if you like Witcher, you're gonna have more of that over the next 5 years. A lot more, actually. I know there's a Cyberpunk anime out that's actually smartly released alongside some key updates to the game. And listen, when Witcher 3 came out, the graphics that were shown at E3 and all these gaming events were super impressive. But then when Witcher 3 came out, it came out to some really bad issues. Really bad issues. Now, Witcher 3 was still a game that really made CD Projekt Red mainstream they were always mainstream, but it made it a household name. The Witcher, that is. And everyone was really anticipating CD Projekt Red to have a major knockout with Cyberpunk. And I think Cyberpunk, for the most part, all issues aside, followed in similar footsteps as The Witcher 3's launch, which had a lot of problems. A lot of things needed to be patched. So it seems like people were kind of over what happened with the launch and really happy with Cyberpunk. I mean, Cyberpunk was selling for quarters or dollars at GameSpot at one point in time. So people seem to be having a lot more success with the game. So people put time into that, put blood and sweat. I want to see creators get appreciated for what they care about, issues aside. So that's cool to see, at least. And lastly, Overwatch 2. So I don't know if there's anyone that plays a lot of Overwatch or Overwatch 2, but this past week, Overwatch 1 was shut down. And they basically gave a major update to the servers. And if you go to play Overwatch now, it's Overwatch 2. It's a free-to-play game. They've trimmed down team player size from 6 to 5, I believe. And that's something that I think a lot of competitive players and big fans wanted as a way to optimize the gameplay. So that was something people were excited for. I think there's only about 3 new characters, only a few more maps at the moment. So there's a lot of conversation about, is this a new game or is this just an update? Which to me, probably could apply that to every sequel. Like, I imagine with how we consume digital entertainment now, you'll see less sequels moving forward and more platforms that will just get additional content added onto it. Like Destiny was originally supposed to be this. And a lot of the other games are following in this footstep where it's just kind of like large scale DLC updates that you don't even have to buy into. You just get them if you pay for the monthly service fee or you bought the product at its original place overall. And there's some type of transaction fee going on in the background. So that being said, there was a lot of issues with the launch. There was a major DDoS attack that happened. Essentially, a large amount of people pinging their servers that made the servers crash. Now, they did take the servers down last night, and it does seem like they're back up and running, and people were having more success getting in. But it still went to the point where people had huge queue lines waiting for hours and hours and hours to get in of this new free-to-play game, and just not a lot of success. Now, that doesn't surprise me, right? I mean, in a world of the internet, in a world where everyone's looking forward to this game, a world where it's an online game, specifically you need a server for it, and specifically that it's free. There's not the barrier of everyone having to sell out $60 just to go buy this game. Doesn't surprise me that there was a lot of demand for it. Should a company have enough servers? Should they be ready for this? Yes, absolutely. But it's near impossible to have a perfect launch of a game of this nature. I'm not excusing anything. I'm just saying I'm not surprised that there were issues. A lot of people were able to play. And I don't know if a lot of the big content creators or professional people got a favorable access to it. That could be the case. But yeah, there's a lot of challenges around it. The one thing I will say is there was a lot of discussion around their MSS Protect mode. So text messaging Protect. Essentially, Activision in 2012 introduced a feature that if you had a Battle.net account, you can add your phone number to it. And this will allow you to get text messages to protect your account, to add extra security, to see if there's anything suspicious happening with it, and also to protect games from getting too much poor behavior, trolls, hacking, and so forth in this game. So this is something they had in 2012, and I think they made it required for competitive games sometime around 2021, from what I was able to find out. Now, I played Warzone in the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 beta a few weeks ago, and I had to make sure I had a phone number added. So this was something that was a surprise to me that so many people were struggling with, because they must not have activated it for all of their games yet, and they rolled it out with Overwatch 2. You needed to have a phone active. And the issue is that some prepaid phone services just don't have the underlying technology or infrastructure to work with MSS Protect. So it created this big issue where certain people were just getting excluded. Now, I don't think their intent was to just exclude people based on if you have a phone of a certain kind. Again, they brought this as a pro gamer thing back in 2012. And it's a very common feature to have multifactorial authentication on online games. I just think the technology and the way it was implemented definitely rubbed some people the wrong way. And as of today, it's been removed. So if this was something that was holding you back from being able to play Overwatch 2, that is no longer the case. You can play it now, but I will say I won't be surprised if SMS Protect comes back in some form or fashion that works better with certain prepaid phone carriers. Again, it wasn't all of them, and I do think the issue would rely on the prepaid phone carriers themselves if they had the support within their company And even in the 2012 article, it did say that text messages had to be included, or you were going to get charged per text message as well. So I don't know if that's related to what happened or not, but that's what happened there. And again, it's back up and running. A lot of those issues fixed. Overall, major free-to-play game running somewhat fine now after 5 days after launch. So yeah, it's I haven't played Overwatch since 2018, but I will probably check it out at some point, as I have the Blizzard Battle.net launcher on my PC, and if I have a launcher, I'll play a game from it. So hold on, chat. I'm gonna bring up a list of the games that are coming down the pipeline. We're in the month of October. It's a good month. So games that are coming out in October that I think you should keep an eye out on. So obviously we just talked about Overwatch 2. If that's something that interests you, check it out. It's free to play. It's on every platform: PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series X, PC, Nintendo Switch. It's on Nintendo Switch. That's pretty cool. Nier Automata. Nier Automata is an interesting game. It's been all over the platform space for a long time, but it's finally going to be out on the Nintendo Switch October 6th. So yesterday, it's out. If it is a great character action game from the makers of other great character action games, Platinum Games. But more than other games by Platinum, this is very much focused on the story and the world, and it wrestles heavily with a lot of deep philosophical concepts, ultimately with the meaning of sacrifice and how sacrifice and death leads to new life, which not everyone gets at, but it's one of those games that you really got to dig into and experience and appreciate. And it was one of my favorite games of the last 6 years. It really is. I recommend it. No Man's Sky, they just released a new 4.0 update. I want to check it out, but that is coming out today on Nintendo Switch for the first time ever. So if you've ever played that game, wanted to play that game, but you've been held back because of what you had, if you have a Switch, you can now give it a try. It's a full price release of like $49 or $59, but it seems to be running well there too. Other games coming out this month that I want to check out personally: Dragon Ball The Breakers. So this is their asymmetrical multiplayer game, very similar to Dead by Daylight, but in the Dragon Ball universe. You're just a regular old farmer or a regular old citizen of Earth, but Frieza's destroying things and you gotta figure out how to escape. So again, in the style of a Dead by Daylight or one of those other games. It's called Dragon Ball The Breakers. It's going to be on every console. Every console, every current gen and last gen consoles. So PS5 and PS4, Xbox One, Xbox X, all that stuff. So PC, Switch. If this game's interesting, you Dragon Ball fans, check it out. Those game types don't interest me, but I am such a big Dragon Ball fan, I will check it out. I think it's just crazy that they thought, let's do this. Another game that's really creepy, I will say, and I think it's coming out on Game Pass. Scorn. Scorn is a weird. Let me try if I can find a quick description of it. It's a very, very interesting looking horror-esque game by the. Here's a description. Scorn is an atmospheric first-person horror adventure game set in a nightmarish universe of odd forms and somber tapestry. It's a gorgeous looking game. It also is one of those games that when you watch just makes you feel uncomfortable. That being said, it's coming out on October 14th. So again, if you have Game Pass, probably be real easy for you to check out. Definitely give it a check if you are interested in those games. Maybe say a prayer before you play. I don't know. It seems just like nothing. Yeah, it just seems weird. It's just weird art style. What else is coming out? The sequel to A Plague Tale Requiem, is coming out October 18th. That's a game a lot of people love. I've never played the first one. That's a game people should keep an eye out if they are a fan of the game. Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. So another asymmetrical multiplayer game in the style of Dead by Daylight, except someone's the ghost, someone's the Ghostbusters, and you work together to get the ghost, or the ghost gets you. So, again, maybe I get into these games. I don't know. But I think that, this is a good time to have these types of games come out, especially October. Jackbox Party Pack 9. Wow. Coming out on Stadia. That doesn't seem right. It's going to come out on everything, but apparently it's going to hit the Stadia as well. But October 20th of this month, you'll be able to get the newest Party Pack in the Jackbox series. Pretty interesting. The game I think I'm most excited here, or two games. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Love the first one. Second one looks fantastic. and there's going to be a DLC in the future where Mario and Rayman team up. Count me in. Count me in. Count me in. A new Tales from the Borderlands. So for people that were fans of Tales from the Borderlands, a new release is coming out October 21st, and new content in the Tales series. People say the Tales from the Borderlands game really put Tales on the map, and yeah, I don't know. I think this is technically a different company that bought the Tales IP, but they own the IP, they own the technology, they're continuing to make those games. Persona 5 Royale is coming to Game Pass on Xbox, Xbox One, PC, Xbox Series X, October 21st. It's also coming to Switch October 21st as well. If you're a fan of the Arkham Knights games, Gotham Knights comes out October 21st. I'm interested in this. I really loved Arkham City. I liked Arkham Knight. I played a bit of Arkham Origins and liked it. I haven't played Arkham Asylum, but I like those types of character action combat games. I think they really did a lot of great things, and I'm curious to see what they do with this one. Again, this one you're going to actually play as everyone else but Batman, because spoiler alert, something happened to him at the end of Arkham Knight. Not going to get into any more details there, but October 21st, keep your eye out on it. It could be popular. I believe it's being made by the Montreal team of WB, which made Arkham Origins, which, again, some people had mixed feelings on, some people liked a lot. It is what it is. So yeah, October 21st, definitely worth keeping your eye out on it. And then finally, the last few games I will mention, well, this one's for Peter. Factorio, coming to the Nintendo Switch, October 28th. He thinks that will finally get me to play the game. It won't, but it's an extremely popular factory game coming to the Nintendo Switch. People are excited for it. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, coming October 28th as well. I'm looking forward to the multiplayer and eventually the Warzone 2.0. And then finally, Gearbox is taking the series over since Telltale shut down. That makes sense. I appreciate that input, Trekkie. Thank you very much. So that's for the Tales game. So yeah, there's a different company running it now. It's Gearbox, which they make Borderlands. So that would make sense. And finally, Bayonetta 3 coming out on October 28th as well. Another game from Platinum. Again, top-notch character action game. I'll leave it at that. But I think that's it. Oh, talking about cloud gaming, Resident Evil Village. So Resident Evil 8 cloud version coming to Nintendo Switch as well, October 28th. Yeah, so those are the games on the horizon. Let me know if you guys are interested in any of them. Leave it in the chat. This will be on YouTube. This is going to be on podcast as well at Game Bites, GameBites podcast everywhere. Get this uploaded here. But yeah, November's got a lot of cool stuff coming out too, but we'll talk about that later. Again, everyone, thank you. My name is Mark. I go by The Joyful Mind. I will be live on Twitch. Schedule's always updated on social media and the Twitch website, and you'll find all my content at The Joyful Mind on YouTube as well. Have a good one.